Welcome back to Conversations with Co-op Bank. I am your host, Akira Patterson, and if this is not your first time joining us, then you know we are all about taking financial topics, discussing them, and ensuring that we arm you with the information you need to make sound personal and business banking decisions. This week, we are talking about topics that's definitely close to your purses and wallets. So you will want to come close for this one. If you have not seen any of our previous episodes, feel free to check out our previous discussions where we spoke about making your money work for you, and we also discussed boosting your business efficiency. This time, we are discussing the shift, or should I say the movement from cash to card, or the progression from paper to plastic. As we know, there's been a lot of digital transactions happening. You have your credit card, you have your debit card, but there's still sometimes a preference to use cash. So we will be debunking some of those myths associated with online transactions and arming you with the information that you need to make wise financial decisions when transacting from a digital space. With that said, this is a very conversational discussion, so we encourage you to always send us your feedback via the official email address for the podcast, which is feedback@grenadacoopbank.com. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. It's Conversations with Co-op Bank and also with you. Joining us today, we have two subject matter experts who I am very excited to be discussing and talking to. We have Mr. Will Von Granger, and he is the Chief Experience Officer at Co-op Bank. And we also have the lovely Samika Roberts. And I'm not saying that to say that you're not lovely. The lovely Samika Roberts, who is Segment Product and Performance Lead at Grenada Co-op Bank. So welcome to Conversations with Co-op Bank.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to the both of you for joining us, giving of your expertise so that we can have this very timely discussion. And, just in doing a little research on this topic, I was very startled to know that actually the global retail e-commerce sale reached approximately 5.8 trillion. Let me say that one more time, 5.8 trillion in 2023, and is projected to reach as far as and even surpass 8 trillion by 2027. Actually, based on preliminary research, in 2024, 20.1% of all retail purchases were expected to be made online. So that definitely speaks to a greater level of comfort in transacting digitally. And all of this is largely facilitated through the use of credit cards and debit cards. But Wilvern, as you obviously know, and you will let us know even more about the use of credit cards and debit cards, just like cash is technology that facilitates a barter system that stems as far from the beginning of time and early civilizations. So in your experience where you sit, take us through the progression and just the transition that you would have seen in terms of how these technologies, cash and now digital currency through the use of cards, how that really helps in facilitating better commerce and better transactions.
Thank you, Akira, for that question. If I could put historical context to the migration or the evolution of trade, we started with bartering, and you did mention about civilization, and we could understand how difficult and challenging that was. And then we moved to the medium of exchange, cash, which is the movement of technology, or innovations per se. Right. And now we are doing a further migration into plastics. So oftentimes it is said that if you don't evolve, you will die.
Yes.
Right? So that is the evolution of a bartering system or a medium of exchange from bartering into cash and now into plastics. And the key is, you mentioned some statistics of in terms of the global retail trade, which will reach $8 trillion by 2027. We in the region, not so much. We are way behind. I think the ECCB did some statistics, some analysis about 2 years ago, and we are still heavily cash intensive in the ECC region.
Right.
I believe it's about 80% of our transactions in the ECC region are still cash. but the infrastructure is ripe. It is there for us to migrate into a card transaction. But as in terms of movement and further education of customers, we have to do that as a financial institution. We have to do that as a financial space
Yeah.
to help our people understand the importance of that migration, moving from cash into card and the securities and the benefits that are associated with that such innovation.
Right. And that's very interesting. And it brings me to focus on this next question that I will ask you, Samika, because with all of the infrastructure being there to facilitate greater transactions online and the convenience that would obviously come with that, 80% of trades still in cash begs the question of cash is still king, but why is that so? Why do you think people still prefer to transact in cash, given that it may be safer or even easier to do so using credit and debit cards?
I think people are still transacting in cash because it's comfortable for them. We have ATMs available all across the country, and your debit card allows you to withdraw from your account using cash. Most places, retail places, still take cash. Some prefer to take cash. Many don't have a point of sale machine where they can accept credit card and debit card transactions. So people feel safer using cash as their means of transacting business. So I think most of it is financial institutions pushing the debit card and credit card means of transacting,
Right.
as opposed to the cash, and making it affordable and convenient for businesses and customers to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're speaking to safety. And I think that that's really at the crux of the issue, because even in the previous readings that I've done, and just from a personal standpoint, interacting with people, security is definitely the main thing that someone will contemplate when using your money. Because if you think about it, your entire life is kind of framed around being able to learn so that you can work, so that you can make money, so that you can, sustain yourself. So it calls for a greater level of security and sometimes apprehension and fear in terms of how you use and how you spend your money and the opportunities for that to be threatened. And I feel within the digital space, there are a lot of ways that you can ensure that your transactions are safe. And from a financial institution standpoint, there's a lot that could be done and a lot that is done. But I feel it's just a matter of people knowing so that they can feel that safety. Because cash, it's a psychological comfort that you have. But there's so much technology right now, even with the two-factor authentication or even the biometric scanning that you have to use to get into apps, etc., to access your money. It gives an additional level of safety and security. So I want, Wilvern, for you to just highlight some of the ways in which, just financial institutions on a whole, or just how it is safer than people would have realized to use and really transact in digital currency using cards and cash.
So before I go there, I just want to add to Sam's response. Human beings are very habitual, right? And we get comfortable with cash.
Yes.
So the plastic is still new in our minds. And so, for example, you line up on Granby Street to go to a particular service provider to pay your bill. And you're utilizing your cell phone, you're on WhatsApp, and you're doing everything with your cell phone. Can't you use your cell phone and just go and pay your bill? So that in terms of habitual and understanding the value of your time,
Yeah.
right? I don't think that we actually place a value on time as human beings. So you spend a long time in a line just to pay a bill as opposed to go on your phone and pay a bill.
Yeah.
Right. So that in terms of habit, we are trying to educate our customers as best as possible in terms of how do you utilize and how do you value your time.
Yeah.
From a security perspective, we're coming to your question. those technologies, from a financial perspective, it is simple, it is safe, and it is secure. Financial institutions have invested heavily in that technology to ensure the safety and soundness of the financial system. So
Right.
that is key, right? The weakest link is always the end user, because curiosity, really and truly, people might click something out of curiosity, and then their credentials get compromised.
Right.
And when the credentials get compromised, from the bank's perspective, the bad actor, we would see the bad actor as a customer, right? So if you are engaging with the bank, the bad actor would be engaging with the financial institution as the customer. So we have to be very cautious in terms of clicking on links, who you share your information with, in terms of your PIN. I mean, we have had experiences where a parent or grandparent may give their child or grandchild the card in one instance, and go take out cash and stuff like that, but they remember the pin, so all they need to get is the card and they go back, and so these are some of the
Correct.
things that you just have to be cautious with, in terms of securing your pin, your personal identification number. Not be curious. If you have to be curious, then you engage a financial institution for
Right.
further guidance. But
Right.
from the financial perspective, financial institutions spend a lot of money to protect the safety of the overall system.
And I think you raised a significant point in terms of ensuring that if you're curious, because I'm sure that we all would have seen a questionable text message or a questionable email with a link saying, in order for you to get a certain amount of money, maybe $1 million or $20,000, you've won this or that, knowing you didn't participate in anything, knowing you were not a part of the Japanese lottery, and here you are, I'm presented with this link, and out of curiosity and the thought that, hey, I could possibly win some money that I didn't otherwise have, you decide to click the link to, proceed and send some money in order to get money back. And I feel like that is a suspect transaction where, in the mind of, like, for myself, like, I would think, okay, why is it that I need to send money in order to receive money for something that I didn't even partake in? So sometimes it's just the end user, like, knowing that and being mindful in terms of what you actually take the risk on. But Samika, talking about the security of card transactions, especially, like, I remember the first time that I was able to do a contactless payment. And for me, it blew my mind completely how quickly it happened, because I was accustomed to using cards where you have the magnetic strip and you would swipe the card. And for security reasons, that technology was upgraded as well. So now you have the PIN and you have the contactless. But even before, like, my card was just this close, like, to touching, but it didn't tap. And I thought I would have had to tap. And then I heard the beep and I was like, wow, the money's gone already. And it was so quick and it was so seamless. Talk to us a little bit about the progression of that technology and why it had to happen in terms of changing from that swipe so that people will get the additional information that they need, knowing that it's a constant level of innovation that's happening to keep these transactions as secure as possible.
Yeah, it became necessary because the bad actors, as Wilvan rightfully called them, they were actually using devices to steal the data from the magnetic stripe. And so, I mean, we got hit with it in Grenada a few years ago, where lots of people lost a lot of money because, they were able to capture the information from the cards. So the chip aspect of the cards, debit cards and the credit cards, allowed people to put their PIN in so that you could authenticate them. And then the contactless, it also allows for quicker transaction, but it's safer because at least we know that the user is present for
Right.
that transaction. And then recently, again, we introduced in the bank the verified by Visa. So depending on the type of transaction that you're doing, you have two-factor authentication. So you
Yeah.
get a code, and then once you have gotten that code, we know, okay, that's the user. So you get to put it in, especially for online transactions where you find most of the fraud happening.
Right.
We would send that code to you, you put the code in, we know, yeah, that's you.
And I've noted that because, especially with my mom, sometimes she gives me her card. Of course, she trusts me. I'm a very trustworthy person. She gives me her card to make some payments for her online from time to time because sometimes she can't be bothered with it, and I understand why. But again, leaning into the shift, leaning into the movement, she still wants it to be done, and she knows that I'm au fait. So what I like, though, is that when that actually happens, because I will try to do a payment on her behalf, and then she will get the authentication code to her phone directly. So even if she allows me to use the phone, she allows me to use her card in order to make these transactions online on her behalf, she still knows that it's going on. So I think it's an additional sense of psychological security for people. And speaking to the psychological security and trying to encourage more of that sort of transition into digital and online transactions, I think it comes back to that 80% because that's a staggering figure for me. And even when you gave the example, Will Vaughn, of being in a line waiting to do a transaction, thinking of the opportunity cost. Personally, I feel I'm very allergic to lines. I will, anywhere I am, and I see that there's a line, I have to figure out a way around it. And in a recent statistic in 2023, it was proven that there were more than 135,000 live mobile connections in Grenada. So it means that out of our entire population, we have more cellular connections than we actually do have people. So there are people with more than one phone, more than one connection, or at least access to a cell phone. And then it begs the question, if you have the opportunity to then monitor the transactions and use and access through your mobile app, etc., to see what's going on your card, why not do it? And I think that was a great point that you raised in that light.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the central bank has informed that they want to reduce cash in circulation by 50%.
Right. Why is that?
Because the investment in the infrastructure for the technology, for the card and all of the securities,
Right.
they are comfortable from a regulatory perspective, right? Because also, to produce cash is expensive,
Right.
right? So now you have to focus on economy because you don't want to produce something that is expensive and then the maintenance is expensive, then there is no progress. So the economy must come in here in terms of the efficiency, the value of use, and all of those things.
Got you.
So the infrastructure is existing in the ECCU region to make a decision to go cashless. It's there.
Right.
But that would be monetary council's decision from a policy perspective. Now, the region, that is the ECCU region, that is the 8 islands, from Anguilla in the north to Grenada in the south. Our population is less than 700,000 people.
Yes.
Right? I think it's close to 655,000 people. So you have to be economical with the solutions that you present to this small population. So to go cashless would be a policy decision
Right.
at a certain time.
Right.
So we have seen countries like Sweden, they have a policy cashless. Even India have identified that by a certain time, I think it's 2030 or 2035, 1 point something billion people, they want to be cashless. So we have developed, and the infrastructure from a technological perspective is there. But to go cashless would be a policy decision.
Yeah.
But the central bank has agreed and mandated that they want to reduce the number of cash in circulation by 50%.
Right.
Because it's very expensive. And financial institutions, as I said earlier, they have invested in the technology to allow you to be cashless.
Right.
I mean, I just always tell people, if you come to Co-op Bank and you open a bank account and you take the alternatives channels and e-banking, all of those things that you have, the only thing you need to come back to the bank for is to purchase foreign monies.
And even then,
Or to get an
sometimes
update, your new card, when it expires,
So you have to purchase foreign monies.
Yeah.
Because you can do everything from your phone.
from your phone.
Right? And going back to the value of your time, people coming to the bank. We are the most patronized financial institutions in Grenada. So a lot of people come to the bank.
Yes.
So if you
I know
value,
that, especially on end of month
exactly.
or
So if you
mid-month.
value your time and you have the infrastructure to do your work, then there is no need. Like I had a friend the other day, he was overseas, he do a wire transfer, and well, he was in the US. So he called me, he said, say, bro, I just did a wire transfer utilizing app after 10. And after 3 the afternoon, the money was in his account
Yeah.
in the US. I'm like, what? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that. Look, I get a credit, the money's in his account. So the technology works
Yes.
and the security is there from the financial perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we have to be a little bit more intentional
Yeah.
in protecting our business also.
Right. And I definitely echo that sentiment. And I know the also the supplement of the e-banking really helps on the mobile app, because sometimes I went into the app and I ensured that I enabled notifications. So when there's a transaction, I know. I love it when I see money coming in. So I have that as an intentional notification.
Make sure it's your money
credit,
not going in it.
making sure, because I don't want to spend it and then you have to take it back. That would be very problematic. But especially for travel, and you brought up an excellent point, because for travel now, I before, when I would travel, I would see the need to ensure that I have cash in my hand. Now, in the currency in the country that I'm going to, now I have my card. I know I have my PIN. I just send a secure message, let the bank know that I'm traveling. So if you see me in the Czech Republic making a payment, okay, I am there, so taking the onus in terms of that. But like when you travel, you also benefit from quite a few rewards from using your credit card in particular. Enjoying the conversation so far? Join us for part 2 as we continue the discussion of the shift movement from cash into card, paper to plastic, right here on Conversations with Co-op Bank.